happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus wore. When Jesus wore. Oh, when he wore. When Jesus wore. He washed my sins away. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day.
Live from New York City, it's the Gary Null Show. And now, your host, Gary Null.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Null. Nice to have you with us today. We're going to share a lot about health and healing, including how quercetin, that's what you get when you eat oranges, apples, onions, it promotes motor and sensory function and helps recovery with sciatic nerve injury. A lot of people suffer from that. And we're also going to talk about ways that you can rebalance your immune system naturally and how you can add about 7 years onto your life if you simply engage in 7 healthy steps. How about that? So, and I'm talking about healthy years, not sick. So if you'd normally live to be 78, if you're the average American, you're going to be living closer to 85 in good health. Now, this is just 7. That's not everything you can do. There's a lot more you can do. It takes more time and effort and discipline, and you could add another 15 years onto your life, even when you're older. So for those of you who may not have been making all the right choices, or maybe starting later in life, you can actually reverse a lot of the damage and get the benefit of a longer, healthier life, including healthier skin. I'm working on a project right now, and we'll see if it works or not, and to reverse crepey skin on the body, because a lot of people have that kind of crinkly skin around the knees and the arms and the neck, and I'm trying some experiments to see if I can. I'm only working with 4 people right now, but they are really, really wrinkled. And if over a period of 6 months I'm able to help them reverse it, then I'll just share it. It's something everyone can do. It's not a product. It's just a system. So anyhow, based on understanding stem cell rejuvenation and what to do to get that collagen connected again. So a lot to share today, plus a new study that I didn't get to yesterday about how to stop psychiatric medications if you need to. And also, a lot of people are falling on hard times. You wouldn't know that by the mainstream media. But there are a lot of people suffering, and a lot of kids go to school each day hungry. Now, I have not seen this talked about, demonstrated against, promoted a solution for anywhere in the media. And we should be, because the kid is powerless. The kid has no choice if there's no food but to go to school hungry. And we're not talking about a few kids or a few thousand, 100,000, even a few million. We're talking about 18 million kids. That's a lot of hungry kids. So you would think that something should be done. We'll talk about that. And also, America treats poor parents like criminals. And Alex Kane from Alternate will share some ideas about that. And then, I didn't have a chance yesterday, but I am going today to share some insights from Dr. Gary Kohls, Kohls, from Global Research, on how when people come up with a new idea that's proven to work, that's completely positive, they are frequently attacked or destroyed if what they're suggesting would in any way impact with an existing belief system or paradigm. And we'll show you how that works in the field of health. And time permitting, we're going to go to our talkback segment, and I'm going to deal with an issue of philosophy. I had a chance yesterday to speak with some younger people, and I was asking about who motivated you in your life to make the choices you made. Was it your parents, or did you study any philosophers? So I ran down some names. Now, these are people in their 20s and 30s. Not a single name that I mentioned had they ever heard of. Now, I went through a lot of names. I was just curious which name they would finally. Bertrand Russell, who was it? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share just a sampling of what I believe are some of the most important minds throughout history, ones that I believe we can learn from today because they did in their day, with issues they faced, what we should be doing in our day with very similar issues. Very similar. The role of the individual in a society. What role should that individual play? And what happens when technology overtakes our freedoms and then we become dependent upon it? Who was the person in American history who told us that? Beware of technology. It was Henry David Thoreau. So I'm just going to give you some background to show that what we're facing is not unique. It's not the first time, but we can learn from the past and what they did, how they solved the problems. So we have a lot to share. Let's begin. I believe that one of the top 10 nutrients we should take in every day is quercetin. Quer, Q-U-E-R, citin, C-I-T-I-N. You can get it in oranges, not so much. Apples, a lot more, and onions, the most. And it does a lot. It helps your heart, thins your blood, helps prevent stroke, lowers your bad cholesterol, lowers blood pressure, helps healing in the intestine, turns off inflammation in your joints, turns off inflammation in your eyes, turns off inflammation in your brain. But now there's something new. According to China Pharmaceutical University, Advanced Knowledge, Nutrition, Biochemistry, this very important study showed that quercetin promotes motor and sensory function recovery following celiac nerve damage. Now, you're talking about a lot of people who have nerve damage, and especially sciatic nerve damage. So this could help them. I'm suggesting between 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams a day to help sciatic nerve damage. And if people took a look inside the body, quercetin increased the cyclic adenosine monophosphate expression and downstream the pathway activation, which directly leads to neuronal growth activation in peripheral axon regeneration. In addition, quercetin enhances axon remyelinization, and which helps motor nerve conduction velocity and plantar muscle function, indicating that the degree of distal portion hypertrophy during the peripheral axon regeneration regulation is going full steam ahead. In lay language, one of the reasons that there's a man named Kenny, he will be at the retreat, by the way, helping out. He had full end-stage multiple sclerosis, and today he has no multiple sclerosis. Two separate board-certified neurologists could find no demyelinization, the very people treating him for those years, who had prepared him for the end of his life with ramps in his house and all. And if it weren't for one thing happening, he would be dead today, years ago. And that was he couldn't get up the steps of a health support group. It was on the second floor, and over at 92nd Street and 2nd Avenue that thousands of you came to over the years that it was there. And they were about to go home, all frustrated. And so I said, not a problem. We'll just pick him up and take him up, bring him down. Not a big deal. And that was 16 months later, cured. And that's one of the ways it happened, just one. Quercetin was essential, but I just explained how it works at the biological level inside the nerves and also works in the brain and the central nervous system. So it is really good. Here's from the study, quote, they concluded overall quercetin triggered multiple effects to promote behavioral recovery following sciatic nerve crush injury. Okay. So let's add that to something that we should pay attention to. This is from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, their medical medicine institute. It says, food preservatives may disrupt human hormone and promote obesity. What they're saying here is that chemicals that are added to breakfast cereals and other everyday products can make you obese. Now, they're saying, yes, it does happen. So that means it doesn't mean you have to be eating more calories than what you're burning. It means that you could be having the calories adversely affected in your body and the mechanism, your metabolism, adversely affected by the chemicals that are in those foods. The new study published in today's Nature Communications talked about this protocol about chemicals known as endocrine disruptors. Now, we've talked about endocrine disruptors a lot. BHT, that's an antioxidant that's not good, that's added to breakfast cereals and other fast foods to protect nutrients and keep them fresher from turning rancid, especially if they have fats in them. And then the PFOAs, these are the fluorooctanoic acids, and it's a polymer found in some cookware and carpeting and TBTs, compound found in paints. Anyhow, they found that all these chemicals can cause you to gain weight. And that's why, to the best you can, you should get rid of your carpets. You should not use chemicals when you're doing your laundry. You can use the eco-friendly free and clear. Free and clear means none of those fragrances, because those are also volatile and they get into your brain. They can disrupt your brain behavior. So you can now have the option of cleaning with a non-Clorox bleach that will disinfect, but it doesn't have those volatile fumes. That's something new on the market. And, oh, by the way, for those of you whose water went out in Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, which is an awful lot of people who were without water, over about 20 million. Almost 30 million, and some still don't have water. You should make sure that you put at least 2 gallons of bleach into your water tank, your holding tank. Let it sit for 4 hours. Then filter it. Just get a filter, above counter, below counter filter. So when the water comes through, all of the bacteria that's built up in your pipes are killed. So if you haven't turned on the water in a shower or sink or bathtub for at least 48 hours or longer, you're going to have buildup of toxins in there. That's inevitable. And just in a matter of seconds, this cleans all that out, disinfects it. And that's good. And also, if you have an air conditioning unit that's been off because the power's off, what you do, you can take a combination of bleach diluted 20 to 1, meaning 20 parts water to 1 part bleach, and you spray it in a mister inside the covering of your air conditioner. In your car, you can do this. In your house. Now, if you haven't had any power in your house, you want to get a ladder, get up, and take off your air conditioning vents and your air vents. And there's a pad in there. That's your filter. You should wash it in diluted bleach, non-volatile bleach, and water, and then rinse it off and spray air therapy on it. Air therapy comes from different companies. What it is just it's an oil from either lemons, limes, or grapefruit or oranges. And it's very good at providing a wonderful fruity smell, natural fruity smell in the air. But those oils kill bacteria and parasites, everything in the air. That's why school teachers just, after each class, walk around the room and sprayed about 15 sprays into the air, holding the can over your head, you would cut down on bacteria tremendously, because that all comes down on desks and surfaces and does a great job of destroying pathogens. In fact, if you really want to have a cleaner class, after class empties out, before the next one comes in, just go by either with hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol or air therapy, spray the desktop and wipe it down with paper towel. Takes a minute and helps you. Now, people don't realize when you're in a warm climate and you turn off the air conditioning, immediately bacteria begin to grow in your vent system. So when you get in the car, spray the air therapy or hydrogen peroxide or the diluted non-volatile bleach into the vents, and then when you turn the air on, it helps kill off all the bacteria so you're not getting infected. I know a lot of people end up with colds and congestion, not because their immune system is weakened. In fact, it happens in the summertime when you're getting the most vitamin D. It should be the healthiest, but because your body is getting an allergic reaction to all the molds and spores that you're breathing in every time you turn on your air conditioning. So just one way to help after your electricity and power's been out, just to sanitize your house in a way that would make it less likely to cause you to be adversely affected. And before you turn on your washing machine, take 1 cup of bleach, put it in your washing machine, and put it on a quick wash, 15 to 18 minutes, and it will go ahead and fill up. And while it's filling up, you have a chance to look at the color of the water. Now, the glass covering of your washing machine may be slightly tinted, in which case you think your water is dirty. Put it on pause, you'll hear a click, open your lid, and then look at your water. In fact, you can take a cup and look at it. That'll let you know whether or not your holding tank has had sediment buildup. If it has, then you'll want to run that water out, get fresh water in, put a couple bleach in there, wait a couple hours, it disinfects it, now you got fresh water. And you got fresh laundry, because otherwise people don't realize this. Let's just say that you're in, where they had Collier County. That's the southernmost county before you hit the Everglades on the west coast of Florida. That's where Naples is. Lee County is where you have Fort Myers. And they had a boil alert. And the boil alert told people to boil their water. Well, people don't know, how long do I boil it, and is that all I have to do? No, because boiling doesn't kill everything. So you should put the boiled water, you should put it through a filter. Then you can drink it safely. If not, then you got some problems. But when you have clothes that are all grimy and dirty, and you put it in a washing machine, if you have not checked your water supply, and if that water is contaminated, now you're washing your clothes with contaminated water. That means bacteria and anything else that's in there is now on your clothes. And it's not killed by the dryer, and it's not killed by the heat of a washing machine, because you're not up to the sterilization level. You're not up to autoclave level. Just a few little hints to help you, because I was just thinking about what people don't know can make a big difference. Now, from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, exposure to antibacterials, that's the antibacterial soaps and those wipes in supermarkets, from mother to child can cause adverse effects in development. That's correct. Oh, by the way, at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, parents there, which are the most educated parents in America, most are PhDs, they had the highest rate of non-vaccination of any group in the United States. And I just this morning, from my producer, he said, you won't believe what this professor at a university said. I said, well, verify it. Doesn't sound possible. My producer said, I watched the video. It's on video. at a private meeting of pro-vaccine advocates of how they're trying to get more people to vaccinate. And I won't say, it's going to be my new film, so I won't say, you'll just, I can assure you, it's going to be one of those moments in the film where people go, what? How's this person keeping their job? In any case, I will tell you one of the things this person said, that we've got to focus our energy on immigrants and Hispanics, Latino community, because they're the easiest to convince to vaccinate. But the more educated a person is, the less likely they are to vaccinate. And the worst of all are white educated women. White educated women are the danger in society. Now imagine that. So how do you sit philosophically if on the one hand the entire liberal class is pro-vaccination, pro-drugs, pro-medicine, pro-medical indoctrination, anything dealing with orthodox bureaucracy, therefore? You can never get informed with them. I haven't in my entire career. And so now you got someone who says, I'm an educated woman. I have a PhD, even a double PhD, an MD PhD. I just interviewed one. And I'm also a professor. And are you now saying that somehow I'm the problem because I have all this awareness, education, and capacity to understand things? But if I was a poor woman of color, I'd be perfect for your indoctrination by vaccination. Now, which side you come down on if you're a feminist? Throws you into a conundrum, much like voting for Hillary Clinton. How do you wrap your mind around that and stay true to your beliefs? So you have to make a compromise on one side or the other. So anyhow, I was watching, listening, reading, and could not, it was just one of those things that hit you, say that nobody today would ever be so tone deaf to say that, and yet they're saying it. They have so much power, and they're so aggressive about making sure that you vaccinate, that they're coming out of their closet with their rants. But let them then have a debate with all the women who've decided not to vaccinate from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Heady group of women. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with a woman that's read more science on vaccination than the pro-vaccine person has read in their entire life? Are you going to say you're better educated on the subject, more informed on the subject? You have more scholarship on your side? Actually, how are you going to play that argument? Let's see how they do that. So here's the deal. Every time you go into a supermarket, they're trying to do the right thing. So I commend them for that. They have that little wipe that you put on the bar. Well, that's got chemicals in it. And those chemicals are carcinogenic. Those chemicals, quote, the TCCs, the trichlocarbon, are capable of going into your body. They have them on soaps, lotions. They're used all over the medical field. But, quote, they can transfer from mother to offspring and interfere with lipid metabolism. All right? And this was published in PLOS One. So if we want to do the right thing, then why don't we put, let's say, a diluted alcohol? And that would be great. Or we can have biodegradable plastic gloves, all sizes. People go in, slip on the gloves, buy anything, touch anything, no problem. You finish, take your gloves off, and you can put them in a biodisposable container. All kinds of ways of dealing with the problem. Artificial sweeteners trick the brain. This is from Yale University School of Medicine. And what I found interesting about this was that it explains the link between the use of artificial sweeteners and diabetes. And researchers at Yale University School of Medicine say that in nature, the intensity of sweetness reflects the amount of energy present. But in modern day life, the body's metabolism is fooled when a beverage is either too sweet or not sweet enough for the amount of calories it contains. That might be a little confusing. What it means is that a sweet-tasting, low-calorie drink can trigger a greater metabolic response than a drink with higher calories. Quote, a calorie is not a calorie, says the professor of psychiatry. The assumption that more calories trigger greater metabolic and brain response is wrong. Calories are only half the equation. Sweet taste perception is the other half. When a mismatch occurs, the brain reward circuits don't register that calories have been consumed, the researchers said. So many processed foods have such mismatch, like yogurt with low-calorie sweeteners. Quote, our body evolved to efficiently use the energy sources available in nature. Our modern food environment is characterized by energy sources our body believes they've never seen before. So they did this work, and that's what they found. This was published in Current Biology. So here's the takeaway message. Don't use artificial sweeteners. It tricks the brain, and that can change your metabolism. Instead, use natural sweeteners. Coconut sugar, monk fruit, that's a good one too, low glycemic. Yeah, date sugar from dried dates. Manuka honey, stevia, those are all good. And finally, I'm going to show everyone in this audience how to add 7 quality years to your lifespan. This is from the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research, University of Michigan. And they are, don't smoke, don't be overweight, don't consume alcohol, and just those 3 things. Don't smoke, don't get overweight, don't consume alcohol. Quote, we can live 7 years longer than the general population, spending most of these extra years in good health, end quote. Now, they studied 14,000 people in this study. Now, of course, most of you would not fall into that category, and that's good. But now, on an upcoming program, I will show you how to add 15 years onto your life, quality years, and how to reverse the aging, including growing new hair, getting rid of your wrinkles, getting your muscles back, your libido back, your passion for life back. I'll be doing that on an upcoming discussion. But we're out of time for Health and Nutrition Day. We're almost halfway through our program. I'm talking on a telephone because I still do not have internet or computer service, and electricity has been restored, which is good. That was just yesterday. And it's nice not to sleep at 90 to 92 degrees with no fan and no air conditioning for 12 days. And I have to do a shower with a sponge bath and a gallon shower, but that's fine. It still gets you clean. Just not luxuriating in the shower. But everything is on the way of getting cleaned up and fixed up, and that's the good part. And I've taken photographs before and after, and I'm going to post next week because I can't even scan to my art director in New York. I can't even scan a photo so he can put it up on the web so you can see what it looked like before the hurricane and after the hurricane, and then what it looks like now today in getting it back to normal. And in the near future, by the way, we had a record audience Tuesday night for Progressive Commentary about what to do post-disaster. And I'll be doing more in the future, not right now. I have so many other topics and guests lined up for our Progressive Commentary Hour. But could you imagine that Mexico had 2 7.1 and 7.2 earthquakes in 10 days, and a volcano erupted on the same day? Hundreds dead, devastation, and a hurricane hit their west coast, and a hurricane hit their east coast out of the Pacific Ocean on the west side, and out of the Gulf on the east side. That's never happened in their history. Puerto Rico has just been devastated, and they're broke. They say $72 to $76 billion. Now someone else is saying $100 billion. Well, did you notice that after the storm passes and there's another news cycle, we forgot about Houston, and we forgot about Florida, and we forgot about we didn't even know about Louisiana. There was no real coverage of Louisiana, but we hadn't even gone back from a year ago. But this coming spring, next spring, when I'm doing going around to all the Native American tribes and doing a documentary on their culture, their life today, their history, and then I have very well-known Native Americans doing the commentary throughout the whole documentary. I'm going to swing through the South, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk with people. The storm happened, several storms happened. You were inundated, your home was destroyed. Where do you stand now? What lessons have been learned? Are you going to go back and rebuild? Are you going to change? Are you going to move? If so, where? What's your plan now going forward? I'm very interested in seeing what 1,000 Americans, I intend to interview 1,000 Americans have to say. I'm going to get some town meetings together and then see who helped you. You know, outside of the immediate help, what has been done? Are the insurance companies helping you? The federal flood insurance program helping you? FEMA helping you? Where do you stand? Because what I know is occurring, but I want to bring this truth to the American public, is that we're not helping any of these people. I mean, right now, 80% of the people who lost things in Hurricane Sandy 5 years ago still have not been made whole. So it's only when you go into their home later, only when there's had the ability of time to reconcile your perception. Should you stay in a place? Should you leave a place? Do you have a place to go to? Do you have any resources to get you there? Why are you still there? Why would you rebuild when every single thing that happened to us recently is going to happen again and even be worse? So we'll see how people are thinking. So that'll be coming in June, July, and August of 2018. Anyhow, we're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to have a little overview, not an in-depth one, but an overview to let us appreciate that maybe we should take some time in all of our schools and have mandatory understanding some of the Great Mind series, people who've preceded us who could give us some guidance and insight and comfort on how we deal with our problems today, because they had similar problems, different circumstances and contexts in their time. I'm Gary Null. Back in a moment. Please stay with us. Nice to have you with us, everyone. I'm Gary Null, a really wonderful human being. I cannot say enough good about Randy Steele, who just passed a few days ago. Randy's partner gave me a call, and I've always done what I could to help Randy. And Randy died. She died at 62. Would have been 62, I believe, this week. You know, she had a small radio station up in Woodstock. And just for the people up there who know that it's going to be a challenging time because there are studios in the house, and the house is in Randy's name, and the estate's going to take the house and sell it. I have provided them a home if they choose to, on my dime, so that the voices that are up there can continue to be heard 24/7 on that radio station. That's just because of the respect I had for Randy and all the good work. So we're heard every day up at 5 o'clock in Woodstock and that whole area, Accord and Stone Ridge and Kingston. So if they need my help, I'm there to help them. And I will also do a matching fund. For every dollar public puts up to support that station, I will put $1 up as well. Because you need that honest, pure, original voice of the people up there. That's what made it so different than the other commercial stations. And that's what she was about. She was a great fighter, social fighter. And I just, thank goodness I had a chance to premiere Plank Codes up there recently. And as always, we'd go out to a vegetarian restaurant, take our time, have a meal, socialize, walk around the town, then go up and see all the people who were there. And I want to thank Gerald Slante. Gerald also came over from Kingston to catch a film. And so we're going to do all we can to keep this station up in Woodstock going strong. Now, for those of you who have had any really remarkable improvements in conditions that normally would not have been reversible, I'm not saying terminal, but conditions that medicine simply could not reverse. But you did reverse it using some other therapy. Could have been any other therapy. Even my own therapy, if you're on my protocols, or anyone else's, that you can legitimate, meaning you have proof of it. We're going to film this and send it out over the internet to our audience. It's our way of saying, hey, whatever way you want to take a condition, do so, but there's natural, non-toxic ways with lifestyle and behavior modification that can really make a difference. And here are some people who did just that. Real people, real conditions, real medical diagnosis, medical records, doctors, and it didn't work. Did this, and it did work. So it's my hope that it will motivate people to start opening up their minds, because right now, about 99% of all medical conditions are treated by orthodoxy. People do not start with alternative anything. I get people at death's door. I mean, literally at death's door. And still able to help a lot. So what if we got them early? What if it was the first thought, not the last? So if you have a story to tell, you now have a forum to tell it. Call my office at 646-926-5422, 646-926-5422, and ask for Valerie. Valerie's just wrapping up. I just got her from California 3 days ago. The last interview in a very important film that is up. It's not a feel-good film. It's not like Plank Codes. It's not like the next one I'm working on now. But it's one of the hardest-hitting films I've ever done. It's an eye-opener. I mean, it's one of those things that just galvanizes you because the people you haven't seen before in this film, I'm not telling you what it's about, but I'll premiere it in the next 4 months. We're just wrapping that up 100% done in another 10 days, and we're, had to have something, they put all that energy in, and finally it's done. So then we'll get your story out. Now, here's the deal. I'm concerned that many, not all, many younger people, meaning millennials, 35 and under, they went to school. Some did very well. Some were good achievers in school, top of their class. But does that mean they understand the world and how to use critical thinking to resolve, prevent, mitigate today's problems? Some will, the vast majority won't. In fact, most people are functionally illiterate about history. But there are people throughout our history that we should pay attention to because they had crisis in their time. They did not have the networks we have today. They kind of had to bear their passion quietly and suffer in silence because there was not a lot of forums open to them. Spinoza lived in the 1600s, died in 1679 in the Netherlands. Now, he was famous because he wrote about tolerance and compassion. He believed that society should be tolerant, society should be compassionate. He also believed that if there was undue power by the religious orthodoxy, that you would sacrifice freedom. In fact, people at that time were sacrificing their freedoms for security. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly what a lot of people are doing today. In fact, a lot of those, like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, and though I do appreciate Sean Hannity bringing Julian Assange on his show, I thought that was very good. On some issues, I think that he is right on. On others, he is way into the pro-war, pro-police, pro-military actions without being, and he's pro-Trump, and I mean, my goodness, that's a real failure in judgment. But look at how many times we've told people in our society, so we have a National Defense Authorization Act, and we have a Patriot Act, and we're spying on you, and we're spying illegally on you. And when it was discovered that we were all spying on you illegally, we lied about how much we were spying. We were just getting the phone numbers you were calling. No, we were actually recording your entire conversation. And we were transcribing your conversations, having an audio track and a transcription, and we were then analyzing it. And we were also watching everything you were watching on the Internet, everything you bought, every book you read, everything you purchased. We have a total record of all that, and all that was illegal. And so when Snowden broke the door open on this and said, "Hey, the government is doing all this illegally," and he was not liberal, the best you could say about Snowden would put him somewhere between a historical conservative, like an Eisenhower conservative, and a well, no, I would say that would be about the best. So he was attacked. He is now fugitive. So let us understand that he told us you're sacrificing your freedom for security. Well, now we have neither freedom nor security. We have a military-industrial complex that's very secure financially. And think of how many people have found that the moment they want to express tolerance for other races and other cultural groups and compassion for their being, for example, in our country, religious groups are the first to stand up and say, no. So here was Spinoza, who was an Orthodox Jew, and he was thumbed out because you didn't have moderates, reformists, you had orthodoxy or ultra-orthodoxy, and he said, your ultra-orthodoxy, or your high level of orthodoxy, is intolerant. There is no flexibility. There is no patience. There is no compassion. And how then does that help society? And he became a martyr. No one had anything to do with him. So imagine what lessons we could learn from Spinoza. And if you think there's not hypocrisy in the world when it comes to this topic, how often have you heard a politician say one thing to one group, like Hillary Clinton to the unions, where Bill and I are pro-union, and at the same time promoting NAFTA, which destroyed and gutted unions, CAFTA, all the Trans-Pacific Partnership, all these would have cost unions their jobs. Remember, we had 49 to 50% unions by the 1950s, and that gave America quality of life. That assured that you only work 40 hours, and you were paid extra if you work more. It assured sick leave. It assured holidays. It assured safety in the workplace. And now you have under 7% union members. So imagine then that you say one thing to one group and another thing to another. I'm going to play now. Jesse, play the first clip. This is the President Clinton getting a standing ovation, playing and saying this. Now listen to what he's saying, and then see what would happen to the liberal media today if he said this today. And this was his State of the Union address, so it wasn't a secret little group. The entire world was watching him, and they all stood up and applauding.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it. One example, if he said that same speech today and you lip-synced it over with Donald Trump, you would attack it. This is the hypocrisy of not having anything representing a compassionate and truly progressive policy on immigration. Now, here's Barack Obama prior to becoming president. And remember, Barack Obama deported more than 4 million immigrants. He also established the largest detention centers in American history, and these were private organizations that were being paid by the day for detaining these illegal immigrants, so they were making billions of dollars a year. The more people could be arrested, men, women, and children, every single head counted, and they got paid for this. So we'd arrest them, these people would make their money, they'd be shipped back, and another group would come in and take their place. The people owning this, the people promoting this, were the profiteers. But here's what Barack Obama said before he became president, and he shouldn't have said anything after he became president, but they all do, because they follow the money trail. Listen to Barack Obama now.
We all agree on the need to better secure the border and to punish employers who choose to hire illegal immigrants. We are a generous and welcoming people here in the United States, but those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law. We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants.
So those are two presidents who today have completely different approaches, and it's all political, has nothing to do with this. So Spinoza, the philosopher, would have called them out, for their intolerance, called them out for their lack of compassion, and called them out for the idea that you are asking us to sacrifice our freedoms. You talk about law and order. Where's the law and where's the order, Barack Obama, in bombing Libya that represented not only no threat to the United States or any other country, not invaded any country, but actually was the most stable country of the 54 countries in Africa. It was the most stable, the wealthiest, the highest educated, the longest lived, the most rights for women, the most rights for Muslim women of any country in the world, and the greatest democracy in Africa, more so than Israel. So where's law and order when applied to others, like you're supporting the overthrow of Venezuela and overthrowing of Honduras and overthrowing the Ukraine?
That was all under you. So you see, it's just all hypocrisy. So what happens when we do not have philosophers to call them out? There was Immanuel Kant. He died in 1803 in Germany. And he would be considered an ethical philosopher. He believed in perpetual peace through universal democracy and cooperation. He believed that you should approach a person based upon what you have in common and how you can live cooperatively. So he would ask, what are your needs? Here are my needs. I can recognize your needs. Can you recognize my needs? We have something then in common. Let's harmonize our needs. He was the great harmonizer. And he wrote the Critique of the Pure Reason. It would be today like a living Zen philosophy. And he was quite simply one of the greatest philosophers in history. Then you had John Stuart Mill. He lived in England in the 1800s, died in 1879, and he was a big advocate on liberty. Wow. Today, John Stuart Mill would be in prison. He would be considered such a threat to the security of the state because he believed in individual freedom in an open society. He did not believe in a closed society. He did not believe in identity politics. He believed that each person was responsible for their own actions. So live your life ethically, live your life honorably, but also society should not tell you how to live, where to live, what to do with your life. He would be considered a very progressive idealist today. And he also believed that individuals are happiest when they're making their own decisions. Well, think about that for a moment. Think how many times you've heard, Tony Robbins or Wayne Dyer or Deepak, and they do not have, in my opinion, the 1,000th the depth of an originality that John Stuart Mill did. But they're all saying the same thing in different ways. You're happiest when you're being authentic. You're happiest when you have control over your own life. You're happiest when you're able to live authentically. That's what he was saying. So we need the John Stuart Mills. We need to know more about them in their day. I'm only giving you little thumb sketches to show you why these people are important to us today. And of course, one of the most important philosophers of all time was Plato. He lived back in 348, or died in 348 BC. And his main theme was that humans want to be part of a greater whole, the larger life energy field. They want to be protected by living in harmony with a higher self. That if there's a greater purpose in life, if there's something that will outlive you and continue your legacy of which you were one part of a larger legacy, and live in harmony with all things. Everyone should know about Plato. Few do. And then you have Bertrand Russell, one of my favorites. He was actually thrown out of Oxford. He was too political for them. He was a mathematician, but he was also a great philosopher, and he led the freedom of thought movement. Could you imagine having to have a freedom of thought movement? Today, 20% of all college students believe in censorship of an idea, meaning if you have any idea that they disagree with, you do not have the right to share it in the classroom or on campus or in a book or an article or anywhere. They absolutely do not believe you should have freedom of speech. Well, my goodness, Bertrand Russell would be banned from Berkeley and just many other schools today. But what does it tell us when we look at the society? And Bertrand Russell was a scientist, but he also feared that science would become a religious cult. And today, science has become a religious cult. If you don't believe in pro-vaccines or pro-nuclear or pro-GMOs or pro-gas hydrofracking, you're considered anti-science. To the contrary, those people controlling science because of monetary rationale are the ones who perverted it into a cult. then hire the people to support them in their views, and they control the media. And in history, the winner always writes the history. And you had Nicholas Cosa, the 14th century Italian theologian and astronomer and philosopher. His greatest contribution was the consent of the governed, meaning don't do something against those people that you are governing unless you understand how it's impacting them. Now, recently I've been giving you insights about what happens when a society loses its moral balance and the police can do anything and the judicial system supports them. Where you have no rights, they have all the rights and they can abuse you. Strip searching and anal cavity searches, and they get away with it. Well, if we had Nicholas Cosa alive today, that wouldn't be so easy. He also was one of the great philosophers who saw that you could harmonize Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And he did, as did Maimonides. And you've had Stoic people, you've had statesmen. Marcus Aurelius, he was an emperor. And he wrote meditations about self-improvement. He would have been probably the most hip philosopher around today because he believed in acquiring happiness. That's kind of a Zen meditation today. We want to be happy, we have to meditate. He wrote the book on it. And then Henry David Thoreau, who I mentioned at the beginning of the program, he was the one who started the entire transcendentalist movement. Virtually all your major philosophers today have been impacted by him. He believed in the philosophy of simplicity. Live simple. Live a simple life. Don't make your life complicated. Don't clutter it with emotions or things. And also make sure that in our effort to become technologically advanced, we don't become alienated from our authentic selves. So those are just some philosophers who in their day experienced situations that we are experiencing in a different time, in different contexts, in different circumstances, but still the same underlying principles. I believe that we as a society should focus more on what we don't know and how to get that knowledge to make us stronger, healthier, and happier. We're out of time. I look forward to sharing more on the next program. Have a nice day, everyone.
Whoa, there's something on my mind. Won't somebody please tell me what's wrong? You just a